Hi everyone, welcome to the show. But as of today, Marc has 242 days left to go in his sentence. And we're starting the countdown again because it seems kind of clear to us that the Conservative government is not going to transfer Marc home. I went to Ottawa last week and I held a press conference inside Parliament with members of Parliament Libby Davies of the NDP, Wayne Easter of the Liberals, and Elizabeth May of the Green Party. And together we called upon the Harper Conservative government to endorse and approve Marc's transfer home. The response we got was that the government isn't interested in supporting the drug trade and more nonsense of that sort. And even twice in the House of Commons, Conservatives have stood and declared that Marc Emery is a drug dealer in the United States who should serve his full sentence there. So it's kind of obvious that the transfer isn't going to go through. But we did get a ton of media attention and a lot of support from the public at large for my campaign of going to Ottawa. And I am going to keep getting letters, signatures from politicians so I can keep asking the government to approve Marc's transfer, because Corrections Canada and the U.S. Department of Justice and the judge and the prosecutor, they've all said, send Marc Emery home. It's just this government that refuses to do so. And if I keep asking politely and they keep demonstrating their ignorance and rudeness and refusing, at least the public will see that this is a cruel government who is very vindictive and punitive in how they deal with the marijuana movement and anyone they don't like. So the Ottawa trip was a big success, and if you go to cannabisculture.com, I posted a new blog by Marc that has links to all the news stories and the news videos and coverage, and we also did a live broadcast of the day that you can find at pot.tv. So check that out, and hopefully we can at least demonstrate that the government is very cruel, and that's the campaign that we're still pushing. And Marc will be home this time next year no matter what, so there's that to look forward to. Now there's some sad news from Marc, actually. We just found out that there's a new rule for visiting, and I'm going to fly down tomorrow to go see him, but they've made it a rule that you're no longer allowed to hold hands during visits, and that's the only contact that you're allowed. Previously is you get to hug and kiss them hello briefly, and then you sit beside each other and you're only allowed to hold hands. So unfortunately we're not going to be able to even do that anymore, and it's very sad to know. So that's pretty sad that we won't even be able to hold hands, and it's going to be very, very hard to deal with. I know when we were in the private prison, they tried to put that rule in place, and it was miserable, and I cried and cried, and that was, I think, one of our last visits before they shipped him out. So it's going to be tough, but maybe they'll change the policy when they see that all these children and these religious married couples who hold hands together and pray and all sorts of people are going to suffer for this new rule. There's also something I wanted to show you guys, and we'll get some pictures up on the screen here, but Marc sent me this. It's a new rule of the cell sanitation standard, and this is the first time I've ever had a chance to look at where Marc sleeps and lives in his cell. So that's the bed that they sleep on. It's a very thin mattress, they call it. It's just a very thin pad, like a gymnastics pad type thing. And they're not allowed anything out on their bed. And this is the rules of how the rooms have to be displayed between 7:30 a.m. and 4 p.m. on Monday to Friday. Beds have to be made military style. They have tiny little lockers that everything has to be in. Everything they want displayed has to be on the bulletin board and not hanging off the edges, not over the edge of the frame. It has to be within the frame, and they also have to post this piece of paper in their bulletin board, which of course takes up space that could otherwise show their kids or loved ones. And then they have a little tiny desk, but you're not allowed to have anything on your desk at any time, except for a religious item like a Bible or something. But so these are the rules. This is what Marc has been living in for a long time, and that's just something really odd and strange to see, because I only ever see Marc in the visiting room, and I don't like picturing the rest of that stuff, so it's kind of weird and very strange and sad. So I can't wait until he's not there anymore and being home, and it's going to be so awesome. So that's really exciting. But he wanted me to share that around so everybody can see that that's what he is going through. So there you go. That's the cell sanitation standard. Oh, and if they don't follow these rules and they don't have this on display, they can lose commissary. They can lose the rights to all sorts of stuff. So they get punished by losing even visits and things if they don't do this. So it's pretty crazy. So that's that from Marc, and I did have some photos recently, but I forgot to bring them in, so I'll show those next week on the show. Since my previous episode in mid-October, we've had Halloween, which I hope you guys had lots of fun with. We had a live Halloween special on Thursday, on Halloween Day here from Pot TV, so I hope some of you guys tuned in, and if you didn't, you can find that at pot.tv. And there were also recently the elections in the United States, and there's good news and maybe some bad news if you don't like taxes on pot, but lots of U.S. election news with respect to marijuana. We had different cities voting to legalize pot. There's all sorts of news on cannabisculture.com. Honestly, there's so much happening, I can't even fit it all into my show, and we can't even fit it all on Cannabis Culture, but if you go there, we have a lot about what's happening in the world, and it's a victory for many people working hard to change the laws in the United States, because it really does make a difference around the rest of the world. And when Marc comes home, we're going to have to work really hard to get rid of Harper and get pot legal in Canada as well, and there's lots of work to be done on that front, so we'll be doing plenty. But there's also a lot of exciting news in Canada. If you've been watching, there's a big scandal with the Prime Minister's office and the Senate. Now the Senate part, I don't even want to go into the details. It's kind of complicated if you haven't been following it. But basically, the Prime Minister is either a liar and helped orchestrate a payoff scheme and cover up, and he's saying he wasn't involved, but he was, so he's a liar. Or he didn't know about it, and he's firing people, and he's getting rid of it's a big scene. But either he knew and he's a liar by saying he didn't know, or he didn't know and he's completely powerless, and his office is planning schemes behind his back, which means he's not fit to govern. So there's a big scandal. Good news is Harper is in trouble, and when I went to Ottawa, Jeremiah and Chris Goodwin and Aaron Goodwin of Vapor Central in Toronto, we got to go to the Parliamentary Press Gallery inside the House of Commons in the middle of the scandal, and we got to sit there with the media. This is kind of unprecedented. I don't think normal people ever get in there. In fact, I know they don't. They snuck us up through the back and all that, and we got to see Harper, red-faced and angry man, and he's a bad man, and so it was just a delight to be able to sit up high above them and look down, and he's not just big tough Harper and his sound bites on TV. He's little mean angry Harper clenching his fists and steaming because he's in big trouble, and it's awesome. If we can't get the government out, if we can't get a lot of things that we wish we could, at least we can enjoy and maybe have a little bit of schadenfreude and take pleasure in the discomfort of our enemies, and I relished it. It was awesome. So Harper, you're not bringing Marc home. I don't care what you think anymore. It was a good time standing there and watching you totally have to squirm. It was so good. So we're going to keep seeing more on that front. But of course, if you've heard about Rob Ford, the Toronto mayor, crack smoking mayor, that news story has overtaken everything. A little too bad, but I got to go on Global News here. I do a weekly, well, every week right now, but usually every 2 weeks, doing a news gig where I talk about different news stories. And just on Tuesday, I was on for 2 segments, one about Rob Ford and the other about the Senate and Prime Minister scandal. So if you're in British Columbia and you want to tune in and hear what I have to say about not pot talk, you can find me on BC1, BC's first 24-hour news station on Shaw Network. You can find out info online by looking that up, and I'll be sharing videos as well. So definitely check that out if you live in British Columbia, because it's exciting that I get to spout my opinion about all sorts of different news stories, and especially talking about Harper is a good time. So talking about Harper and the government, these pro-warmonger bad guys, we have Remembrance Day coming up, and Remembrance Day is meant to remember that war is bad because people die, so we shouldn't have war because people die. And unfortunately, this government has kind of started turning it more into a pro-military, support the troops, how dare you wear a peace poppy sort of thing. I mean, this government is really pro-war. So when Remembrance Day happens here in Vancouver, the ceremony is right out front. And I like to hold up a big sign, and we'll show it on the screen. It says, "War equals death, no more war." And some people find that maybe a bit offensive, but to me, it's extremely important that we remember what Remembrance Day is about, to pay honor to those who died and to those who are still alive, the vets who come. And, you know, these people had to lose their friends in trenches and warfare. To have to continue war, that's not the point. And so I want to pay tribute to them to remind people what it's about. It's about war equals death. We shouldn't have war. that's the message. So on Remembrance Day, I hope you remember that and share a message of peace. And yeah, I do support the troops. I support the troops when they're peacekeeping. I just can't support when they're killing innocent people abroad, or anybody abroad for that matter. Killing is always wrong. So I support the troops by saying don't put them in harm's way. So that's Remembrance Day on Monday the 11th, and pay your respects in whatever way you feel you should. And on Wednesday the 13th, the medical marijuana movement in Canada, we're fighting against the new Health Canada rules, which would take away the right to grow. This is a travesty. It's horrific what patients are facing. So there's a benefit concert. There's a lot of things going on, but this benefit concert is on Wednesday, and it's being organized with the Rascals as the performers at Fortune Sound Club. You can go to cannabisculture.com and come down to our store and get tickets, but you can also go to MMAR Coalition Against Repeal.com. This is the group working to raise money for this fund to challenge legally this new change being put forth by the government. So I'll be there. Pot TV, Cannabis Culture will be there, even if just briefly. I'm not a nightclub music kind of girl, but I am definitely going to show my support for the cause behind this, and I hope you guys will too. Even if you're not into the music, you can at least show up and give a little bit of monetary support to a cause that really needs it. And we're going to be doing a lot of fighting in the future for freedom for patients and everybody else to be able to grow their own. So I'm going to wrap it up here. It's been a pretty long show, but thank you for tuning in. I'm sorry I missed the last couple of weeks, but I'll get to the regular schedule into the holiday season. And come on down to Cannabis Culture Headquarters, the BC Marijuana Party Vapor Lounge. Tune into Pot.tv's live shows every week. We've got all sorts of great content to bring to you. And CannabisCulture.com, as always, one of the biggest weed websites on the internet. And we're happy to keep bringing you as much as we possibly can from our activism headquarters. Thank you for all your support. Keep sending Marc letters and whatever you can. He's had to now accept the fact that he's not getting transferred. It's harder on him than others, I think. I kind of expected the government not to approve it. I'm not going to stop fighting, but for him, he really hoped it would happen, and so this must be tough. So send him some love and support, and get in touch with your member of parliament, whoever they are, and tell them to not only bring Marc home, but to help end prohibition and save peaceful Canadians from persecution for pot. Thanks for tuning in. See you guys next week. Free Marc Emery and all the drug war prisoners.